Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one I have a beer that I've wanted to review for you for quite some time, and it's only just recently that I've actually managed to find this. So today we're going to go to Cordogno in Lombardia in the north of Italy and have a taste of the Spaceman IPA from Brewfist. And this is the first time I'm actually doing a beer that is purely from Brewfist. The other beers that I've done from these guys before have all been collaborations. So there was the Space Frontier, which I did with Toil, and then there was also the Beautiful and Strange Ghost, which was with Demolin, and then there was also the Mild, M-I-L-D, Mild I'd Like to Drink, that was with Del Ducato, Tocalmato, and then again with Demolin from the Netherlands. So it's very cool that I'm finally able to review this beer, which I've wanted to do for a long time, and that it's my very first kind of pure Brewfist review, if you like. So as is usual with my beer reviews, then I'll take you through a very kind of brief history of the brewery. It will only be a minute or two, but if you want to get straight to the tasting, feel free to fast forward. Brewery website's in the description for you below, along with a link to my other reviews that I've done from Brewfist before, and I'm sure I'll add more Brewfist reviews in the next little while. So anyway, Brewfist are a small brewery based in the Lombardy region of northern Italy, or Lombardia as the Italians would call a small village called Cordogno. But it was founded in 2010 by three friends who had a passion for craft beer, as many of these new little breweries are. One of the founders is Pietro Di Pilato, and he actually is the head brewer and said that these guys are part of a new generation of Italian brewers, and the market is really beginning to thrive in Italy. Now, Pietro apparently spent time gaining brewing experience at Fuller's Brewery in England before he launched the flagship beer of Brewfist, which is this guy here, the Spaceman IPA. And this guy is a bit of a cult classic in Italian craft beer circles apparently. But the brewery want to produce high quality and hugely drinkable beers, and their motto is actually more people, more beer. And ever since they started up in 2010, they've become very, very well known in Italy, and they're gradually becoming more well known throughout Europe and indeed further afield in Australia and New Zealand and America and things like that. So a very cool brewery and one of the sort of pioneers of Italian craft beer, if you like. Just to list a few of the other beers you can get from Brewfist, a few of the interesting ones, some very interesting beers from these guys. There's 24K Golden Ale, the Jail ESB, which is an English style bitter, Bureaucracy, they've got Fear, which is a stout, this guy here, the Spaceman IPA, Caterpillar, which is a pale ale, X-Ray, which is an Imperial Porter, it sounds a very nice one, Spaghetti Western, which is a stout, Czech Norris, which is a Czech style Pilsen, Terminal Pale Ale, Green Petrol, which is a black IPA, Heimdall, which is a Saison, Galaxy, which is a Saison as well, Son of a Gun, which is a Saison IPA, and also Bionic, which is another IPA too. And they all tell you on the website a little bit about the hops and malt bases of all their beers. So go into the website and have a little look about what beer you would like to try from these guys, because all of their beer is pretty damn awesome, I have to say. But without further ado, let's get on to the tasting of this guy. So this one is a 7% ABV IPA, as I'm sure you've guessed. I'll bring up the camera and let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. It's really nicely done actually. I really like that, the Brewfist logo on the moon. This one's got a blue Brewfist logo, as you can see on the bottle, which is different from the other ones. Usually they have a red one, which is the same one that's on the bottle cap. As you can see, they've changed it up a little bit for this bottle, but this was the original beer that they produced. So to tell you about the actual specs of this beer, as I said, it's a 7% IPA, and it's got a malt base of pale and aromatic malts, and it's hopped with Citra, Columbus and Simcoe hops, so it should be a really nice kind of very fruity beer, I think. So let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting here. Really excited to try this one, as I've said to you. So as you can see, a nice slightly smoky opening as we get it out, and it's pouring a really nice bright amber colour. Just sugar up the last little bit of it and get that out into the glass. You can smell the fruit off this, particularly the kind of passion fruit actually is coming out quite strongly as you pour it into the glass. But I'll just bring up the light and let you have a look at the proper colour of this one. So as you can see, it's poured a really kind of nice, rich, goldeny orange amber colour. There's about a half finger of a frothy white head there. That's going to fade away to be just a very thin layer, thin kind of foamy layer. There's some carbonation just sticking to the side of the glass, some big bubbles, but you can see quite a few little bubbles just going up towards the bottom of the head. If I put my fingers behind it as well, you can see that it's not transparent at all. It is quite hazy, and there is a little bit of sediment just floating around at the bottom of the glass here, but it looks a very, very very attractive beer. You can, as I said, without paying too much attention to the aroma, you can really smell the fruit coming off this one, particularly the passion fruit, I thought. But let's give it a wee smell and see how we get on. So if you sugar it up a little bit, you're getting a big waft of passion fruit out of that, I think. You can pick up the sort of sour notes from the grapefruit just underneath that. So it's a big tropical nose from this one. The passion fruit, incidentally, for those of you that are interested, that comes from the Simcoe hop. It's one thing you'll always get with the Simcoe hop, is a nice passion fruity nose, and you get a little bit of grapefruit out of it as well. But I think the grapefruit's more likely to come from the Columbus and the Citra a little bit, more likely the Columbus. But the passion fruit is a real trait of the Simcoe hop. But underneath, you can smell a really nice, sweet caramel malt base, but it's got a good bit of pale malt mixed into it as well. It doesn't smell dusty, the hop on this one at all. It smells very fruity, very oily. You can pick up a good bit of pine resin in this one as well. And just a little bit, I think there's just a little bit of the kind of smoother smell from the grassiness, if you like, if that makes sense. But the overwhelming note that's coming out of this guy is definitely passion fruit for me, and there's that underlying of kind of the more sour grapefruit smell. But there's a big pine resin presence too, and that kind of lighter grassy element from the hop. So as I always say with my beers, just take a little bit of time and smell them if you do get the chance to try some of these. But this is a beautiful beer and very easy to get as well in a good craft beer shop, so definitely give it a go. But yeah, very fruity smelling beer, nice little malt base. But without further ado, this is the Spaceman IPA from Brewfist, my very first pure Brewfist review on this channel, so slàinte. Now that is really nicely done. The malt base on it's actually quite nice, just the aftertaste that it gives you. Yeah, the malt base is really interesting in this one. The malt base actually comes out quite quickly in the aftertaste, I would say. So you've got a nice kind of pale malt blanket, if you like, and then you've got some kind of a little bit of caramel, very small amount actually, that just goes right down the middle of the tongue. But it's a nice biscuity feel, biscuity flavour that it has, and there's maybe just even a little bit of kind of cereal in the malt base as well. There's just a little bit, just that little bit of a kind of slightly cereal spice in the malt base, and then just around the edges of the tongue you're getting the really sourish grapefruit notes actually, a big grapefruit blast from this one, and the passion fruit is mixing in with that too. But yeah, it's nice and juicy. The hop character on this is excellent. You're getting a little bit of softer grass hop just at the front of the tongue there, and it's got a little bit of nice, slightly lemony citrus coming out there, but around the back edges of the tongue you're getting that sour grapefruit and just a little bit of the pine resins in there, kind of sour grapefruit with the passion fruit on top, and that kind of dusty, slightly dusty pine resin feel to it. Now almost, the pine resins almost give it just a little bit of a slightly earthy character, but very, very mild in that regard. It is more of the typical, not kind of musky flavour, but the typical pine resins that you get in a lot of the American pale ales. That's the Citra hop coming out with that usually. There's definitely a little bit of kind of aromatic and floral flavour coming out as well, but that dissipates and it goes to a more smooth, grassy hop with just that little bit of light lemon, kind of lemongrass citrus in there actually. So yeah, like I say, round the front of the tongue you're getting that nice light grassy hop character, a little bit of lemony citrus, but you get some a more kind of orangey juicy flavour just behind the tongue as the flavour sort of builds. You get just a little bit of an oily mouthfeel that moves towards the front of the tongue, but round at the back, on the back sides of the tongue, that's where you're getting the pine resins and then the passion fruit and grapefruit on top of that. But the pine resins are quite prominent in this. They really last into the aftertaste actually, so it's a very kind of big lingering bitter flavour that goes into the aftertaste with this one. A little bit floral and aromatic-y flavours in there too. The floral character in this, the aromatic and kind of pine resin flavours are quite good because it separates the tropical fruit from the grassy hop, so it's very interesting in that regard. Just pay attention to your palate there. But the malt base, like I say, is a very pale malt kind of blanket, if you like. A little bit of caramel, good bit of biscuit sweetness in there too, but there is a little bit of cereal character, but that fades away as you get more into the beer. It's very noticeable on the first sip in my opinion, but it gradually fades, and the lingering aftertaste is particularly pine resiny and grapefruit and passion fruit, and just a little bit dusty on the palate there, but very, very nice beer. There's a whole host of flavour in this one, so do take a bit of time and just take all the flavours in with this, because it's got a huge amount to offer. But in terms of the mouthfeel here, it's actually a very light IPA. It's not even really pushing too much of the mid-bodied category in my opinion. It's very light and very drinkable. The carbonation is quite moderate on it. It helps, the carbonation a little bit helps bring out the kind of pine resiny and aromatic-y flavours, but it's very lightly done. It's got a slightly oily mouthfeel to it as well, but it's got a nice big and hoppy dry bitterness in the aftertaste, particularly from the sort of pine resiny flavours, I think. So it's got a big dry and bitter character that lasts, but it's got a bit of juiciness to it as well, I should say, from the fruits. So overall, this beer it's an awesome IPA that you really need to try. I'm really glad that I finally got around to drinking this beer and reviewing it for you on the channel. So I hope you've enjoyed the review. This guy is something that you could really sit down and session in. It's light enough, you can tell that with the Italian beer. It's light enough to enjoy in the sort of heat that they get down there, which is very cool as well. So a nice summer IPA and a very sessionable beer you have here in the Spaceman IPA, and I can see why it's considered as somewhat of a cult classic in Italy. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer below. I always like getting comments from you guys and hearing what you think of the beer, so please do it, and please also like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope you've enjoyed this Italian beer review, and I'll ask my Italian viewers, please recommend some other breweries for me to have a look at, and hopefully I can do some more Italian beer reviews for you soon. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.